Good morning, good afternoon in Sydney, good morning in London and the UK. I'm absolutely delighted to welcome back my great friend, Mr. Troy Malcolm. I'm so excited. In fact, I couldn't sleep so much. I was up so early, pounding the streets of Edgware, thinking about and everybody sending through questions. So delighted to welcome you back. It's been too long. So you were kind enough to come over and did two fantastic masterclasses for me in the UK in 2019 and 2020. So thank you very much. You are now head of sales for LJ Hooker. So congratulations on that as well. Got loads of people already joining us. So thank you so much for joining us this early. Really, really grateful. Please like it, share it, get people out there. Loads of highs already coming in. So David Mintz, morning. Andy Overman, good morning. Edward, good morning. Jeremy, good morning. Chris, good morning. Thank you. So Troy, welcome back.
Thank you, mate. And it's been far too long.
It has been far too long.
Some of the names you just mentioned there, Andy, Edward, Chris, David, God, there's some great memories of spending time over in the UK and meeting some of the team that you have that's worked with you so closely. But yeah, it's been a while. Obviously, a few things have changed for me personally in regards to the last time I was in the UK, and that was some 18 months ago. The world has changed in that period, and I remember us having a conversation about whether this would actually impact way back in January 2020, whether this would actually impact the world. And we were probably a little bit more aware of the circumstances throughout Australia early on in the piece. But I don't know whether your team knows in the group that's on, but we've just been announced another 4 weeks in lockdown in Sydney. So we've had a very bad variant come here. And in Australian standards, it's made it pretty serious. So for the last 4 weeks, I've been working remotely. We've been in lockdown throughout Sydney, and it was just announced today an extended period. So a lot of the questions that your team are asking and the viewers, they're very, very relevant because we're going through them right now. So yeah, I'm excited. Head of sales for the LJ Hooker Group. So Stephen, last time I was with everyone, I was obviously working for a phenomenal brand called McGrath and had spent 20 years working alongside John McGrath, both very well respected throughout the Australian real estate market. But a great opportunity came up to grow my role and my expertise with a bigger group. And so the LJ Hooker Group, for those that don't know, they have 4 different companies that actually work under that group structure. And one of them is a 94-year-old iconic Australian real estate brand that has over 500 offices currently in Australia and New Zealand. And there's a number of other brands that work underneath that brand as well. So I've taken on a group role across those areas. It's about 5,500 employees.
Wow.
So it's about five times the size of my previous employer, which was pretty good, but it's very exciting, very challenging, different challenge, but a very exciting challenge all the same.
Brilliant. So a few more people have joined, and if I don't get them to say hello, that's it. They're never going to speak to me again. So morning, Marcel, Abigail, Patience, Chris, Jane, Laura, Ian, Tesh. Thanks very much for joining us. So congratulations. How have you settled in?
It's good. It was actually only my 6-month anniversary yesterday in the new role, and it's an interesting time over here. The Australian real estate market is really buoyant at the moment, but like the UK, it has a very limited amount of stock on the market. And so we're working through strategies, and I'm going to discuss some of them today about how we're getting our team to be really productive and focus on what they're great at. But from a growth strategy, the business is in a good position. We've got significant investment coming from around the world because Australia is seen as a very safe haven in regards to its economic stability and also its political stability in many cases. So very much like the UK, people see it as a great place to invest. And so we've seen a great trajectory over the last 6 months since I've been there, and that's forecast to go even bigger over the next 12. So it's quite exciting to be in there, but it's like I said, it's a different challenge, and it's getting to meet everyone for the first time, which is taken me 6 months and I'm still probably only about halfway there.
Brilliant. Right. Morning, Katie. Morning, Jazz. So look, you touched on one thing, and it's exactly the same in the UK. There's a shortage of properties. There's agents have had a fantastic run. Literally everything that's coming on is selling way above market value, which is exceptional for the agents. What strategies should agents have to get properties on?
Yeah, so it's a great question, and I was only asked this today by one of our team here in Sydney. And I think when we think of the market, if it's in chaos, if it's a buyer's market or a seller's market, you can perceive that as chaos. You've got to see the chaos as the opportunity. And so when we're talking to our agents, and for everyone on this call, I want you to start to think about, how do you rethink your business? How do you restructure your business? How do you refresh and re-energize everything you're doing within your business? And then how do you reinvent yourself? Because the chances are, if you improve all of those aspects, you're going to be a standout to the potential clients that you're going to be working with. So how do I perceive that, Stephen? I think you start to say, well, what is everyone else doing in the market and what do I stand for? How do I get attraction from my clients? How do I get attraction from new clients? And then how do I outperform and outpassion those that I'm currently competing against? And it can be 1,000,001%ers that's going to really set everyone on the right path for success. So when you think about rethinking your business, do you need to step back and challenge the way that you've done a system or a process? Is there a marketing element that you need to rethink? Are you the type of person that's been more traditional in the way that you've done business and you've never really gone onto social media and video and started really boosting that side of your business? Have you more been about traditional letterboxes and waiting for clients to come to you? I think the whole game has shifted and we need to focus on what we can control. And what we can control is our pipeline. So if you think about all those elements for us personally, then what can we control in the market? It has to be our pipeline. And when you think about your pipeline, you need to break it down into achievable chunks. The next 90 days, I'm going to be doing this with the clients that have already had a great experience with me. I'm going to be doing this to make sure I'm engaging new clients. I'm going to be doing this to make sure the community knows that I'm still really active and I'm getting great results. I'm also going to do this to make sure the buyers understand that I'm the representative, the estate agent that's going to help them buy a property. Because here's the challenge, right? The chaos is the opportunity. Buyers right now in the market, they want to buy. And hopefully that's exactly what everyone's seen. It's a reflection of the low stock. The buyers that are actively in the market right now, they definitely want to buy. It's exactly the same here. So how do we help them buy? How can we be the agent that they go to every single day, every single week, that they go, what else have you got? Abigail, how can you help me? Chris, where's the opportunity? I've seen this property, I've driven past it, it's been my childhood dream to live in this home. Perfect, that's an opportunity. Go and knock on the door. Mr. and Mrs. Jones, you're probably not thinking about selling, but I've got to tell you, I've got a buyer that's been really active in the market and they want to see your home. Have you ever considered what your property's valuation would be right now? And I would be getting down to that. It's almost in the trenches and you've got to go out there and find the business. And if the business isn't there with one client, that's okay. It will be at some stage. Find the business that wants to do business.
Okay, brilliant. Yeah, no, definitely. So again, really just following on from that, because there's a shortage of properties, you've now got agents that are literally, well, I need the instruction. So they're buying it by reducing their fees, by halving it. So, maybe they were getting 1.5%. If they're lucky beforehand. Now there are other people in their town that are doing it for 0.5%, 0.75%, maybe 1% and reducing it. How would you overcome those challenges that these elite agents are having at the moment?
So it's a good one as well. It's another one that's very relevant right here. God, they're shocking. I really don't like them, Stephen. I think it devalues and dilutes everything we stand for as being professionals. The first thing that I would really look at is having belief in your value. Again, back up to the top, do we need to rethink, re-energize, reinvigorate? What do we need to do to show value to the clients? I would invest more and increase more. There's a great challenge for everyone on this. What would it look like if you increase your fee? So instead of discounting, show your value, have belief in it, and then increase it by maybe 0.5%, 0.25%. I don't know what that number is for you, but if we all say that we can stand out and we have a really valuable proposition out there in the market, we know what we're worth, then the conversation becomes a little bit easier. I'd also upfront, Stephen, be having that conversation with the client. As soon as you go into a listing presentation, just ask, hey, listen, what's your expectation of fee? And then just let them answer. Because guarantee that a lot of clients right now, if they're calling out one estate agent, they're calling out 3 or 4. And so if you ask that straight up front and you get a response that, oh yeah, well, such and such said this and such said 0.7, I'm not going to list unless it gets to 0.7, then you can actually park that conversation up front. And you say, listen, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, again, I understand that there's a lot of agents right now in the market that are discounting fees because there's a shortage of stock. My problem and concern with that is that they're going to also discount your price because they're not going to be invested in it. And so what I'd like to do is I'd love to have this conversation. I think it's really important we have this fee conversation, but I also just want to wait till I show you about the value proposition that we have with our business before we have that conversation. Because unfortunately, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, not all estate agents are the same. A lot of estate agents say they're going to do a lot, but then they don't. So what I want to take you through is our listing presentation that really shows you the valuable differences that we offer in the market, along with a number of case studies that are very close to what your property's configuration is that we think will achieve a premium result. Is that okay? And then so straight away, in the back of my mind, I've already got where they're at. I know what their expectation is on fee, but I also know where I have to really emphasize because I know what my competitors are doing. And the team that was with us last year, 2020, would have known that I was very big on really understanding what your competitors are doing out in the market. You need to do a deep dive on them and work out their strengths and where are the opportunities for you to outpassion them and outplay them. So if they're really big in social media, but they're not good in team structures, I'm really emphasizing the team structure. And then so the conversation becomes a slightly easier because if I'm focused on team structure, then I can say, but Mr. and Mrs. Jones, I know that they said they're 0.7. You only get one person for that 0.7. We're at 1.25 or 1.5, but you actually get a team of 5 representing you. Now, I don't know about you, but if you divide that extra 1.5 into that structure, you're actually getting a lot more for less.
Okay,
and I'd also look at, there's a couple of other things. Do you want me to continue? Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So first rule is always find out where they're at. Also, don't pitch your commission. Don't pitch your commission. Don't match your commission. Don't discount your fee based on what someone else has said. I think it's a really scary trap. And also the communities that we're working in right now, if you fall into that trap, everyone talks. And so as soon as you discount one, you're actually going to discount that to everyone. There's a couple of people who are in Sydney that are selling multi-million-dollar properties and their standard fee is 2.2%. And multi-million-dollar properties in Sydney, that's kind of 10, 12, 15, 20. Most recently, there was a couple of $100 million sales. Now, that same agent never discounts their fee and their dialogue is exactly the same. They say, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, I understand that it's a really high sale price, but the reason why I'm here is because of my expertise and because of my past results. Now, the standard fee that I charge is 2.2% inclusive of what we say is GST, which is your VAT. And that's the standard for everyone. And then 99% of the time, they're like, wow, 2.2 is a really big fee considering the property's worth this. And that agent is very clear. He always says straight back, well, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, I understand that it might seem like a big fee, but the level of detail on the buyers that I work with is incredibly important to me to make sure I service them accordingly. And I think my fee is fair. I also know that it would be disrespectful to dilute my fee and then have that message get out to the market for my past clients that are very cherished, my family and friends that I've represented in the past, and also my future business, because that's not the way that we actually talk about our business. And then just leaves it like that. And, that person has been super successful for decades on basis, using that dialogue. The other one is that, Stephen, I would be really focused on doing business with people that aren't necessarily discounting fee. We've all heard along the lines of not every piece of business is great business. And I think that it's really, really important right now that we're not just saying yes and we're not diluting our fees just for the sake of getting a deal. Yes, it's important to be commercial, and I never want anyone to lose a listing based on fee. You need to be commercial. So let's get that really clear. You do need to be commercial, and because stock's tight, you need to be close to it. But I also don't want them to be dealing with people that have high in the sky expectations about what they're going to achieve from a sale price, that there's no comps, there's no valuations that are anywhere close to it, because you're just going to waste 1, 2, 3, 4 months by focusing on that. And then I'll just be breaking it down, identifying what's the valuable lead source that's created the opportunity for you, because not all lead sources are great, right? And so when it comes to fee discounting, it's a really important conversation. If it's a door knock that you've got a fee conversation with, if you get into a listing appointment from a door knock, then my strategy is slightly different to whether it's an agent referral. So if there's another estate agent or a family member or a friend that's referred a client to me, or even a past client that's referred another client to me, then I'm very mindful about where I'm pitching the property, because I've already got enough kind of street cred to go and pitch that listing. But if it's off a door knock, or it's off a walk-in off the street, or it's off a pamphlet that we've dropped, my strategy is a little bit different. And so my strategy has threefold. My strategy is really, listen, friends and family, I do it X-ray. Clients that I've worked with in the past, or I've met at an open for inspection or a private inspection that we do a lot in the UK, it's this. And then for first-time clients, I always charge this fee. Now, the reason why I do it that way is that I want to find out where their discount level is. So if you're competing against me, I already know upfront where your fee is. I already know how I found the source of the lead. And then automatically, if I pitch 3 levels, I know that they're probably going to pick the middle, or they're going to be discounted to friends and family. So even if I meet them somewhere in the middle, I'm still going to be ahead.
Okay, brilliant. I've had a question. It's not about Lux. It's not about Lux listing, so you're okay. So we'll discuss that in a bit. But how do you get if a fee inquiry comes in over the phone? How should you be dealing with that?
Never. Okay. Stop. Whoever asked that question, don't do fee inquiries over the phone. Say we charge a range, and that you'd love to come out and really let them understand how you stand out in your market. Don't get shopped on fee. And chances are, whoever asked that question, I don't know who that is, Stephen, that's fine. But whoever did ask that question, just be mindful that the person that shops on fee is normally the one that's just going to pick the cheapest agent representative anyway. So they're not going to actually really focus on the value. So sometimes it's better not to even entertain it, or to say just your commercial fee that you say to everyone on the street. So if it's 2.5, 2.75%, just say that. Just say that and move the call on. If they don't ask any secondary questions, it's never going to be business that you're going to get anyway. Okay, so Sammy says, such good points. This is also helping me get over no more Sydney Lux. There you go. See, it's come over here. Apologies on behalf of Australia and Sydney.
Yeah, I read all your comments.
It's all right. It's all right. It's fine.
I was listening to you and Adrian Bowe in your podcast talking about it.
It's only because Adrian's been involved in the show. That's why I'm apologising. No, I'm just joking. He's a great friend of mine.
No. So coming back then, upfront marketing fees. So, you know, in the UK, agents have asked, how can we start getting upfront marketing fees? You know, obviously that's something I know you get vendor paid advertising in Australia, and all of the agents there are very comfortable. Apart from Fine and Country, who I know look to get it here, I know some agents now are starting to look to get some upfront marketing costs. What advice and tips could you give agents out there just to ask for that? Yeah, so you always have to have supporting documents. You always have to have the facts to back up the marketing fees you want to charge. So you can't go in and just pitch one fee, even if it is the baseline, just to get the property live on Rightmove or any of the other portals. You actually need to have at least 3. And I always like large, medium, small. Some people use the dialogue gold, silver, bronze, but I think you need to go large, medium, small. Again, people in 3s love the middle, so just pitch the middle. And I think last time I was there, for everyone that was at the masterclass, it's in your manual. So you can quickly go to that and you can see the large, medium, small, and just go that medium campaign.
So always have them there, always have them printed, never talk about fees just as language, always have what they get and really show the success of what you get. So it's got to be for the large package, you get all of the small plus you get and really extrapolate that to make sure they understand the granular detail that you get for everything in that fee. The medium campaign, you get everything in small plus this, but you don't get the extra large Lux pack. And then you get the small, which is your bare necessities: photography, copy, floor plan, portals, and maybe a sign if that's relevant in the marketplace that you're working. But I would always have that, and I would always have examples. So make sure you're taking some really tactile pieces, photos, brochures, big A3 printed folders with the information, and have that there, or have a digital presentation that you can use to really show what that looks like to the client. That's part one. So a lot of agents fall into the trap. They just say, oh, our fees are £2,000, £500, whatever that fee is, and then they just let it go. Automatically, I would be like, hang on, what do I get for that? So you really want to have that so it's clear. And it might be obvious to a lot of your team members and listeners, Stephen, because I know that they're definitely the advanced group. So I would really make sure that you have it there, you have it documented. The second part of that is use case studies. So the case studies that I would use, it's a really important strategy because the case studies that you use with a client, people love the idea of social proof. And if you look at, the laws of reciprocity right now, and you look at social proof and you look at all of the different spheres of influence that you can get, one of the key ones is people like to follow the lead of others. So if you say, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, here's the scenario. We want to maximize the price for your property. To do that, we need to market it. Now, it's an important part and an important conversation that we always cover off with our clients. And those clients that have invested in the marketing have definitely seen the return by X. Now, the X return could be anywhere from 10 to 15 to 5, whatever the number is. You guys need to do the research. But from that, Stephen, what I would do is I would have a list. I would have it at A4 page and a list of properties, the property address, the thumbnail property, the thumbnail photo of the front, the facade of the home. I would then have 3 lines, the configuration, so beds, baths, cars, land size, and then I would have the marketing campaign spend. So I'd have 123 Smith Street in London, 3 beds, 2 baths, 1 parking, land size or plot size or internal size if it's an apartment or a unit or a flat, and then I would have the marketing investment. And so the marketing investment would be £2,500. From that, I would have that up front. Then the next line I would have level of inquiry. So the number of people that inquired, phones, walk-ins, web inquiries, emails, all of that information, private inspections, the total there. I would then have documentation or formal requests to make an offer. So I'd have the number of people that translates to, and then I will have the result. And so then I would have a list of 20 of those properties or 10 of those properties or 5 of those properties, and I would have all that information there. And I would say, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, listen, this is my last 20 sales. You can see from the last 20 sales, every single person has invested in marketing. The great news is that every single person that's invested in marketing, look at the results they've achieved by doing that investment. Mr. and Mrs. Jones, now I know that sometimes clients and other estate agents will come in and say, there's no marketing cost, we'll do that for you. My challenge is, what are they actually investing in? Where's their money going? I would rather invest a little bit more to maximize the price as opposed to just trust the agent to maybe put it on Rightmove or another portal and see if it's okay. And that's a very clear strategy that has worked countless times for clients to understand that they're not the first one person to ever invest in marketing. They're not the first person to ever actually see that campaign come to fruition. And also, if you want to really take it to the next level, I would put the days on market, because a lot of clients right now, if they're selling, right, they're normally time sensitive. Why? Because they want to buy something else, or they may have a lifestyle decision that they need to sell. So I'd put the days on market as well, because the campaign spend and the days on market normally are a bit of an equilibrium. So the more you spend on the campaign, the shorter the days on market. Why? Because we're widening up the search criteria and we're casting the net as far as possible in regards to how many buyers we're going to get interested or inquiries. And that's how I would do it. That's it. I wouldn't do anything else apart from that to really show the benefit of upfront fee, a marketing investment.
Brilliant. Thank you. Right. You talked about video. So we've got a lot of people on here who are exceptional with video, understand the importance of social media, understand the importance of getting themselves and their clients' properties to the widest possible audience. There are some on here who are also very uncomfortable doing it. So what tips can you give for people to become comfortable getting uncomfortable and getting in front of a camera?
Do it. You have to do it. No, honestly, it's never been easier. Everyone has this, right? Everyone has a smartphone. Everyone has a device. If you've got children, get them to film you. Get them to give you tips. If you've got a partner or a spouse, get them to film you. If you don't have anyone, just get a tripod. Set a tripod up and record it as many times as you like. I always try, and Stephen, this is honest truth, I always try and tackle 3 key points in everything I do in regards to video. So if you're doing a video and you're doing a property inspection or you're doing a property walkthrough, focus on 3 key areas that are going to attract potential buyers to do something. You really want to have a clear call to action. If you're doing a market summary, focus on 3 key areas that you think are going to be relevant to people. Now, that might be new listings, properties that have just sold, and then activities that are happening in the community. I would just break it down into 3 things. We can always remember 3 things as well. 3 traffic lights, 3 blind mice, first, second, third call in auction environments, Goldilocks and the 3 bears. All of those things, the brain is trained. So when you're thinking about how buyers work and how people capture information, focus on the power of 3 and you're definitely going to see it. But please just do it. The inside word is no one really cares. To be honest, I know that we all get caught up in what people are going to say about us and what they're going to think. People right now in the world of online, they're really enjoying raw footage. They're really enjoying raw production. So don't focus too much on making it too polished. Yes, you have to make it acceptable. So the video has to be good quality and the audio has to equal the video. But holding up your iPhone and doing a property walkthrough is fine. It's absolutely fine. You don't need big budgets anymore because most people are digesting the information and moving on pretty quickly. And that's why I say the power of 3 is really important. There's a number of apps out there. If you really get stuck on your words, there's a number of apps out there that you can download that teleprompt and record you at the same time. Don't worry too much about it. Be your authentic self. Tell the message. Stick to 3 key points and just get it out there. If people are sharing it, like if you think you've done a really bad job and you think people are poking fun, the idea is that's actually really proactive marketing, because if people are sharing it, liking it, commenting it, it's going to extend the reach. So don't be too concerned and you'll always get better. I always say that you'll always get better. The first video is always the worst. Probably don't post the first one. Maybe try it recording it 3 or 4 times, but just keep trying, keep practicing and send it to people. Send it to me. I'm happy to watch videos. Send it to my Instagram account. I'll give you a really critical eye on it and encourage what you should be focused on. But I'm happy to do that for anyone on this call. Absolutely happy to do that.
Brilliant. Thank you, Troy. So we're joined by Sean. Said another 2 world-class superstars on my screen again. Thank you.
Mr. Adams, how are you?
And then JFDI when it comes to video. Hannah, so true. I was told that last night. Be real and no one really cares. Love this. So thank you.
Thank you.
I also want to thank you for something you said at the masterclass for everybody. And Luke and I talked about this on the Estate Agent podcast a couple of Sundays ago, and we had some great feedback on it. Was negotiating. So you came up with a negotiating chart where effectively, I think for every 5,000 paid with the interest rate of an extra at 1.5%. Breaking it down to a weekly amount, it broke down to £1.44. And I know there's a certain lady on here who managed to get an extra £8,000 from her buyer to secure the deal using that. So would you be kind enough for people that weren't there just to discuss that negotiating tool to get higher offers?
Yeah, absolutely. So it was a really simple framework, and if I can dig it out, Stephen, I'll send it to you as a digital form and you can share it with everyone on this call. But You've got to play a game you can win, right? So when you're negotiating, play the game you can win. Play a win-win situation. Now, if you break down and you say it's an extra £10,000, most buyers will say no, right? Naturally, we want something. We want to see a deal. We want to win. So you've got to give a little to get a little. Now, the way that I do that is just simply break down what the offer is. Yes, it might be £10,000. Yes, it might be £5,000. But do you know, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, if you break that down to your weekly income or weekly expenditure, it is £1.50, right? You can't even get a coffee for £1.50 anymore, right? You can't even go to Starbucks and get a coffee. So it's ultimately putting the numbers in a position that makes sense to the buyer. Now, you have to do that face-to-face. And I would say that to everyone, if you are negotiating right now, because it's low stock, you have to negotiate with owners face-to-face. You have to negotiate with buyers face-to-face. Don't do it over the phone. Don't do it. You can do it over Zoom, do it over video. That's fine. But you really need to read their emotions. You need to understand why they're doing what they're doing. And if they're prepared to miss a property for £1.50 over the lifetime of their mortgage or ownership, let's break it down and say 20 or 30 years, let's say they're going to hold it, it's their forever home. Are they prepared to walk away for £1.50 per week, or are they prepared to have only 2 coffees a day as opposed to 3? And I would just really make them understand and just, play a game you can win. I think that's the best piece of advice I ever received in regards to negotiating, both as an agent, as an auctioneer, as a business leader, but also as a vendor, an owner of a property, and also a buyer of a property. Just make sure you see the opportunity for what it is. And people have different levers, right? So if it's a family, obviously the levers you're going to pull in negotiation are slightly different to whether it's a first homeowner. If it's a multi-owner, a multi-investor, obviously they're going to be more mindful of dollars and cents. Pounds. So let's break it down into something that they understand. Let's understand exactly why they're doing what they're doing. And normally if you reverse engineer it back up, they're going to see value. They're going to see value at that level. Now, it's different, of course, if they're, again, like we were saying before, they're long distances away. If they're £100,000 away, obviously the negotiation strategy needs to take a bit more detail and a bit more time. I would be working with the owner to really understand how they came to that figure based on the information that I presented to them. And then I'd be saying to the buyer, this isn't probably the property for you, but I will find you one that is. And then care, but not that much. I think that's a really another valid lesson in regards to negotiation. Care, but not that much. In regards to, if it's not for them, there's no point trying to get a square peg into a round hole. Just say, it's probably not going to work at that level. And I'm happy to show you other properties that do meet the criteria. They're probably not going to be at the same standard or offering as this one. And I have no doubt this is going to sell. So it's not really a concern of me, but I do want to help you buy it. So if there is flexibility in where you're at, I'd suggest you put your best foot forward and don't miss out for only £5,000 or £10,000 and leave it like that.
Brilliant. So Ian, face-to-face negotiation always will be the best option that achieves the best result. Thank you.
And Zoom. Zoom is a great way. Zoom and FaceTime and anything that you can engage and see people is great. You want to really understand.
Yep. 100%. And I just piggyback on that. I think now there's no excuse. If you can't get both decision makers at a market appraisal, you can come back and find out when both of them are going to be there, and do it via Zoom and have a conversation with them. So again, should make a big difference. Right, so you have worked with and trained the best agents in Australia, all of that have appeared on Lux listings, and more. So what are the most common
to explain the guys on Lux listing? They are very good, right? And sometimes it's like any TV show, the Lux listings team, sometimes the editors take liberty. And so a lot of the team that you see on Lux listing, yes, they have bravado because they are salespeople and that's their role, but they're not necessarily the way that some of them were portrayed on that show. They're actually, I know all of them personally, and they're all very nice.
Do you know what? We saw, so Luke, Sean, I saw Gavin and Simon on stage at AREC. I've had Michael Pallier on our podcast, on the EA podcast, about 3 weeks ago, and thought he was exceptional and came across really, really well. Plus, also Green and Co. were filmed for about a year. We had a promotional, they followed us, and we had 6 1-hour slots, and it was never going to be as much as we wanted to be a promotional video, the way they edited it and highlighted it. So I know exactly what it's like. So, but you take what you can from it, and obviously,
Absolutely. Well, I mean, it showed
there's some great stuff.
Great property. I mean, it was great for Sydney. It definitely showed, I think, Sydney in the right light as well. So I think that was quite good. There's season 2 is getting filmed right now. So for everyone that's thinking, is there going to be a season 2? Yeah, it's getting filmed right now. So wait and see how it plays out. But this time when they're filming, obviously the market is really buoyant, and we've had some super significant sales over the past couple of months. So whether they translate through to the show, who knows?
Okay, so you've come back, you've worked with some top performers.
Yep.
Okay, some elite performers, you've trained them. What are the top traits for top performers that elite agents master or need to master?
Yeah, they're all different. I think that's the first thing, and what should excite everyone on this call is that every top performer that I've had the really lucky opportunity to work with, coaching, training, shotgun riding in the car, and just seeing and hearing what they're doing and what they're saying. They're all extremely different, and they all have different backgrounds. Some of them are tertiary educated. Some of them are, formerly mechanics. Some of them have been selling beds. Some of them have been in real estate straight out of school. So the great news is that it doesn't have one certain type of personality that actually makes it a success. There's a lot of super successful mums and dads in the industry as well within Australia. So that's the first thing I think is important to know, is that it doesn't have one particular personality. You don't have to be the slick Rick salesperson or the corporate high flyer to be a success. The next one is that they really know what they're good at, Stephen, and so they know where their strengths lie. And I think that that's where the industry as a whole around the world is probably going. There's going to be really a lot of specialization for certain tasks within businesses. And so a lot of the agents that I get the chance to work with, or I have worked with in the past, they know that they're extremely good at listing homes, or they know they're extremely good at inspections and private appointments. They know they're extremely good at auction process, or they know they're extremely good just with managing vendors' expectations. And so the reason why I say that is they've broken it down into a speciality that they know they can focus their time on. And they know that then they have team members that really break down the other elements of their business that they may not be as good at. And I know that everyone's not in that same position where they can segment their business out, but I think we've got to start with the end in mind. And if you know what your strengths are, then you can really work on them and emphasize them against your competition, but you can also backfill. There's a lot of different leverage points that you can get. I mean, for a couple of £100, you could probably get a social media master to do a lot of your social media and marketing elements. You could get someone to go and do your pamphlet drops. You could get a specialist that just works with buyers in their private inspections. So I think we need to really understand, what is it we're good at? How have we become successful to date? Where do we want to be in the next 5 years? And then work a structure that allows you to really do what you're good at. Now, the second part of that is I've seen a lot more agents in Australia right now never focus more on buyers. Buyer work has become the ultimate success strategy for nearly every agent within Australia. Now, you guys would have seen Simon Cohen, Lux Listings. He's dealing with, I think it was mentioned, he's dealing with multi-billionaires. There's an amount of buyers out there right now that are desperate to buy, and they're doing everything. They're paying 10, 20, 30% over expectations to secure homes. The agents that are most successful, and the agents that are going to be even more successful when the market does have a lot more stock released, which is probably going to be the tail end of this calendar year, The agents that have done that buyer work and really nurtured that relationship and mastered the art of that relationship are going to set themselves up for success. Why? Because their days on market are going to be so small, because they're going to be the matchmaker, buyer, seller, connect, buyer, seller, connect. And so I think anyone that's thinking about how do I get to be super successful, yes, we get paid by the vendor, but the buyer is 50% of the equation. So focus on the relationship of the buyer. Why? Because the buyer will be the person that commits 50% to the deal. And also the buyer long-term will be the client that you want to create a raving fan mentality with, and they'll become ultimately the seller. And so a lot of agents in Australia, they forget about the buyer. So that's my first piece of advice, is to focus 100% on the buyer. And I think within that manual that I've just seen, the 2020 masterclass, there's a whole chapter on buyer work. And so that's what I would really, really be, mindful of. The next one is agents right now that are super successful. So we've taken out what are they best at. We're focused on buyer work. They run great team structures. The last part is that they're pretty good. Actually, no, they're very good at storytelling. They understand their pitch. They understand what drives sellers, and they also understand what is their herbs and spices special sauce. And so when they're in a listing presentation, they're focused on what they need to achieve, but they also are great at telling stories and word pictures to get the clients to buy into their energy. So for everyone on this call, how often have you stepped back in your business and reevaluated your pitch? Go through that listing presentation, go through what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, and then how do you differentiate yourself out in the field? It's exactly the same as what we were talking right at the start, 40 minutes ago, about how you get really clear on how you differentiate yourself against your competition. You have to be great at telling stories, creating those word pictures, and then having those case studies, like we mentioned earlier, that you can continue that conversation and back it up with fact, back it up with something that the vendor can look at, the owner of the home can look at and go, wow, you know what? Sean Adams is the best lister. Sean Adams is the best person to pick and represent me. Why? Because he's done all this. It makes the choice easy. And remember, we only get 45 minutes to an hour to sell how good we are, face to face with the client. Yes, they will see everything else, and you need to have that omni approach, but you only really get an hour, 45 minutes just to get in front of them and sell you the benefit of working with you. That's what the best agents are doing, and that's what they're really focused on right now. Everything else is handled. Websites handled, photography handled, social media handled, profile handled, right? They're back to nuts and bolts, the art of selling.
Brilliant, thank you. So I just got a question from Ian. Has Troy ever used deal rooms in Zoom with all stakeholders on the deal to finalise and ratify what has been agreed?
Yeah. So, I mean, we traditionally do a lot more auction. And so that would be essentially kind of the same process. Auctions have to be online in Australia right now. So I'll be clarifying where the buyers are at, committing them to the sale as a verbal agreement, having the vendor also commit, and then doing the exchange as an online technology like a DocuSign that exchanges those contracts on our behalf. Yes, Ian, so that traditionally is how we do it, but also I've been in rooms like this where it's agent, owner, myself as representative of the business and the buyer, just formally going through what they have agreed, or if it is a live negotiation, we'll probably do that under auction conditions, so it's definite, there's no cooling off period. But they work well, depends on the property. And also, more so depends on the owner and the buyer. If they're the type of person that likes doing that, yes, and they would display those traits leading up in the negotiation. If they're very private and don't like that, then I would be hesitant to kind of go through that deal room negotiation, but they can work really well.
Okay, brilliant. I'm very conscious and very grateful of your time, so thank you. So a couple of final questions for you. Obviously, there's been loads of changes that we've seen in the last 18 months very, very quickly. What three things have you changed or Hooker changed or that you've noticed in Australia that's made a difference to the property market and how it's advanced over the last, I don't know, 18 months?
Yeah, so we have seen, well, we have decided over the last 18 months and even in the last 6 months, we've done a really deep investment in our people. And so we're really, really focused on value add from a business perspective. Retention is a massive thing within Australian real estate right now. A lot of agents are making decisions about where they're going to be working over the next 5 years. And so our investment is not only from a financial perspective, but it's also from a wealth perspective. So we're investing on making them super successful for the future and making sure they're wealthy. When the time does come for them to retire, if that be 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20, 30 years, we want to make sure that they have a wealth plan that enables them to really enjoy life. And so I think that's probably relevant for everyone around the world, regardless of the industry, Stephen, that they're working in. I think it's really important that businesses show that they really care about their people. I don't know about the UK, but within Australia, there was a lot of people probably had a little bit more of an aftertaste in their mouth about the first lockdown and what businesses, the process they went through, from redundancies to furlough to all of those types of things. And so a lot of people, it's actually interesting, people made decisions about whether they were going to stay in the businesses they were at long term based on the actions of their business right then, 18 months ago. So it's interesting to see how that's translated in the amount of people within our industry and other industries that have kind of changed careers and decided on their future. So deep investment in people is one thing that I would emphasize. All business owners on this call right now, make sure that you know your people. Make sure you understand what drives them and make sure you're setting them up not only for success in their career, but also after their career, wherever that takes them. And there's a whole heap of ways you can do that: virtual equity, buy-in, leadership roles, making sure there's courses that they're going to, attending things like Stephen does and has with his training and consultancy services. All of those things in the back of employees' minds, they really love that. The next one, Stephen, is we up the ante on digital products. And so we know that agents, when they're doing a property review, that's enough. But we also know that because of the restrictions we've seen within Australia, we've had to double down on professional videographers, professional photographers, professional floor plan, all of those types of assets to make sure that the experience from a buyer, their first interaction from the brand, all the way through to attending a private inspection or making that video walkthrough phone call to the agent, we want to make sure that that is upper level. Because it's very easy to fall into the remit of, if you squint, all agents look the same. They all have great logos. They all have BMWs. They all wear suits. They all attend offices. So if you take away all of that, how do you stand out? So we decided to do a deep investment, not only in our people, but we doubled down on marketing. And so that's kind of translated to some really good results, and it's left great impressions, not only for our future clients, our pipeline sellers, but also our buyers that are interacting with our brand. Part of that was obviously increasing the presence on social media. So a lot more of the information that we're sharing is about business intelligence as opposed to just transactions. Why? Because we want to really differentiate ourselves and say that we are the leaders in real estate knowledge, not only in transactions. So again, we've decided to take that channel because it's a game that we can win. We have a number of economists that work within our business, and their job is to solely just look at the Australian real estate data, break it down and regurgitate it in bite-sized chunks that's easy for people to understand. And so we decided to make that as a point of difference, only in the last kind of 6 months since I stepped in, which is good. Video walkthroughs for every listing, mandatory. So agents are there, every single property. Obviously, digital listing presentations. So I know that that's become very, very much the status quo. Just on the digital listing presentations, don't try and put everything in the presentation. People won't look at it. Have a couple of really key points and emphasize them. Make sure that there's a really strong call to action, and also be mindful that not all markets, not all villages actually resonate with that style. So if you're working in a really mature market, the worst thing you could possibly do is send them a digital listing presentation. You need to be able to step them through and walk them through a beautiful printed document and take that collateral out to make them understand that you're the agent of choice or the estate agent of choice. Then internally, we really focused on our team again. So not only the deep investment from a leadership perspective, but team meetings. So we did a lot more social events. We found that the team wanted to be connected, and it's funny, you don't really understand how connected and how much time you spend with the team until you don't spend it with the team. And so we realized that. And so now, like, we've emphasized group meetings, be that online right now because we're in lockdown. But we also, when we did have the chance, we threw really easy to do. We did breakfast. And so every Friday morning there was a breakfast, and we had some kind of guest speaker just coming to the office for each one of the offices that we have, and they just spoke about things. And so that was really important because we wanted the team to make sure that they were getting that community spirit, but also they knew that, you know, they get some value add and a free breakfast, right? The cost of it, not much, but the value add was pretty huge. And then finally, the last thing was the way we tackled buyers. We just really reinvented the way that we send out our buyer alerts and the way we interact with them. We didn't want to spam them anymore. It's too easy. If anyone has a personal email account, normally the first thing you do is you wake up and then you just delete 50 emails that you've signed up to from an online shopping experience. So with the investment in the economists and the investment in our marketing team, we started, you know, really pouring out bespoke content based on the information that the clients have said that they wanted. So from a lead generation, we focused on both pipeline and buyers and said, well, what are you looking for? What do you want to hear from us? And then we did some bespoke marketing around making sure that they had relevant information that was real to them, helping them. So if they're a first home buyer, we sent them information about how to buy a first home, what they needed to do. If they were an investor, we sent them a lot of information about where's the greatest part or where on the property clock is the best place to invest in residential property right now. And we use that information from The Economist. So we reinvented what was real as opposed to just trying to push everything out. We became more of an understanding business, which is good.
Okay, love that. So another question, Abigail, what are Troy's suggestions where agents are overpricing in your area?
Again, the same way that I would cover off, I think we spoke about, was it fees or?
Yep.
Yeah. Base it on comps and case studies. And so and I think, Stephen, we spoke about this in our last masterclass, become the beacon of information in your market. So every property that's listed, every property that sells, you need to be able to be the person that both vendors, potential clients, and also buyers turn to find that information. And so every property that's listed, I would be making sure that I'm the information source that's getting that out to my clients. And based on what they're quoting, I would then back that up with relevant information that would support that, or say, oh, it's probably not the right price. And that's, I don't have a problem with anyone saying that because it's an opinion of price. But you've got to become the beacon of information. So how do you do that? Every single property that gets listed, set up an alert on Rightmove or any of the real estate portals and make sure that you're getting everything about that property. If it has contact agent for the pricing information, make sure you have someone that can contact that agent for the pricing information, or set up another email address where you can send a generic inquiry to say, hey, listen, what's the guide on this one? I would formulate that in a really beautiful email and then send that out to my clients every week. You will become, your open rates will increase dramatically, and I'll do exactly the same for every sale. Now, the only caveat on that is, and I know that I challenged a few people last time, Stephen, in January 2020 about this, was you need to really understand your market and be a student of the numbers. Just understand exactly what's happening, and also inspect where you can, drive by, know exactly, get a brochure, whatever you need to do to understand what the product is that the competing agents are doing and selling. You'll get a really clear understanding of the market. Sometimes you just can't control it. Sometimes agents are just not as experienced or not as in-depth with the market, and they make mistakes, right? We're human. We all make mistakes. But if I was to be dealing with someone at a listing presentation, at an overpriced listing, I would just say, it's really interesting, Mr. and Mrs. Jones. I would love to know how they said they came to that valuation for you. And then just let them answer. Because 99% of the time, Mr. and Mrs. Jones will say, I actually don't know how they came to that number. They just said that number. And it'd be like, well, great, because here's the sales that have indicated to me that your property somewhere sits in this range. Now, my job, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, is to always get more. 100%, if there's another pound out there for me to get, I'm going to get it for you. But I'm just really struggling how they got that valuation based on the information that's, in the market that anyone can access.
Fantastic. Thank you. One final question. Implementation. Yep. Okay. A lot of people, fantastic. We're incredibly grateful for you getting up, watching it before you start work this morning. So thank you. And hopefully you're watching it on replay and listening it on the move. Shelf development or self-development? How do people implement stuff and get it done rather than putting it on the shelf and that's it?
Just do it. Break it down. Don't buy a book if you're not going to read it. Don't delude yourself. Podcasts are great. The Estate Agents podcast, phenomenal. You get to tap into some great minds. You get access to anywhere in the world. You get access to people that are doing phenomenal things in podcasts, YouTube. I don't know. Like I have a morning ritual, Stephen, that I follow. I'm a really early riser, as you know. I'm up most mornings.
We're not starting the 3 a.m. club again.
Yeah, well and truly before the sun. Part of that is just doing a bit of self-development. I would say to anyone, chunk it down. Just really chunk it down. 15 minutes, self-development. Implementation is key. There's no point listening to this last hour that we've spoken if you don't take away one thing and put it into your business. If it's a piece of dialogue, if it's something that Stephen's going to send you, if it's someone that's been in the chat, has made a comment that you want to connect with, you have to be responsible for your own success. And so if you're not disciplined to do it, then you're better off getting the extra hour of sleep, or you're better off turning on Netflix or Amazon and watching Lux listings. And I truly mean that. Because everyone has an opportunity to really become great. I mean, I've got a stack of books here, Stephen, that I'm continuing. I've read these now 3 times. And so I'm reading them again. Excellence Dividend. That one. Excellence Dividend by Tom Peters and Ryan Holiday. The Excellence is the Way. The Obstacle is the Way, which is all about excellence, right? So when you think about what's stopping you, and it's kind of, you can go through these and there's highlighted and fold over pages, but a lot of that information that you get is relatively cheap to access or free, right? It's all about implementation. So 15-minute chunks is great. And if you can't find 15 minutes, please send me your ideal day or ideal week. I'll find you 15 minutes. I promise you I'll find you 15 minutes.
Brilliant. Thank you. You have been exceptional as always. Loads of comments. Can't wait to see you back in London and the UK.
So here's the thing. That is the thing, Stephen, right? As soon as this happens, I am there, right? So I want to, but if you guys want to see me again, please pester Stephen. Please pester Stephen, because I would love to come back. Obviously, Masterclass 2022 would be phenomenal. And I think, we would have a totally new set of content and a little bit of the old stuff to cover off. But Stephen, I think, I would love to do that conversation, but I want everyone to pester Stephen to make sure that happens.
Brilliant. Troy, you've been absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Look forward to catching up with you soon. Have a great day. Bye.
See you, team.